This is Death or Prison, brought to you by leanonmeusa.org. We bring you stories of hope and encouragement.
Hello, welcome to the Death or Prison podcast brought to you by leanonmeusa.org. My name is Raul Lopez, and to my right we have Oswald Newbold, and to my left we have Big Mo Golden. And today we have an interesting topic we want to touch upon, and that's the topic of relationships. You know, when you've done some time, I did 12 years myself, and after 12 years, it's amazing how we could lie to ourselves. And I was looking at the fact that I wanted to have a good relationship, but what was really going on, and let's be honest, we're talking here about reality, it was the hormones that were motivating me. So we're just going to touch upon that, and you guys just jump right in if you've had any experience, and then I'm going to share an experience that I had when I got out, immediately after I got out.
Well, interesting topic. One that I don't have a lot of experience in because I've been coming to jail and prisons, at a very young age since I was 17. So my relationships were no high school proms, no high school girlfriends, mostly in jail during all those times those events were taking place. But over the course of time, I've noticed how incomplete I was when it came to dealing with relationship. Not getting into that a little bit further, I do believe that the relationship starts while we're incarcerated and even before. So when we flip the page and we look back of what kind of men we were in our previous relationship before incarceration, pre-incarceration, and then we try to we'll start looking into the type of women we wanted when while we were incarcerated, and then what do we have now? So, opposed to just dealing with relationship matters.
No, it's interesting you would say that relationships is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're gone, all we crave is a woman from a man's point of view. It may be the same for women where they crave the companionship of a man.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to give it to ourselves and take time for ourselves to get back into us. We've been gone where we've been under some type of correctional control forever. So now we need to get our foot in. How can we be good to someone else if we're not good to ourselves yet?
Mm-hmm.
Everything sounds good when we sitting on the bunk in a controlled atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when we get into temptation? We want the craving of a woman, we get with this woman, but all of a sudden I want the world too. So we have to take our time and get ourselves together in terms of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I often tell the guys when I go do the class inside the facilities, take a minute to get yourself together first.
Right, that's right.
The women gonna be there. Take your time to get yourself together first. And it made me think about something. I went inside the women's prison and I noticed something. There's a difference between the men's facility and the women's facility. The men's facility, you will see women coming in, bringing the children. It might be a sister. The visiting park is always full at the men's facility. At the women's facility, if with the exception of maybe their parents, the guys don't go check on the women.
Wow.
Yeah, so the visiting parks at the women's facilities are empty, where the visiting parks at the male facilities stay full. The men in feeling loved, and the women out there are feeling left alone. And I got this only through hearing the testimony of women when I went in the homestead one time. And shout out to homestead. We hear you, and I hear your cry.
Yeah.
And many times we talk about things and we looking at it from a male perspective, but we got to remember the women viewers that are out there that suffer through this too.
Yeah.
And they are more lonely than the men, so they probably would attach to a man faster than the man would attach to a woman.
Right.
You know, you hear the word institutionalized, and I remember being in denial about that. I ended up doing 12 years. How long did you do?
I did 25.
25 calendars. That's not a skip in the park. And you did all together?
A total of 22.
22 years. And I remember hearing the word institutionalized. And no, I'm not institutionalized. But if we really look at reality, you can ask any psychologist, any sociologist, they'll tell you 10, 12, 15, 20 years in an environment like Department of Corrections, and it doesn't matter what state, California, Florida, Texas, it's going to affect you. So what you were saying, Oz, is so true. Uh, we're looking that when we get out and all we envision is this fantasy, well,
Wow.
this beautiful girl, and we'll go to dinner and we'll go to the beach. But the bottom line is there's a lot of toxicity that we need to get rid of. That's why it is imperative that we work on ourselves before we jump in a relationship. You know, what's funny, it's been 27 years that I'm clean off of drugs. And one of the things that they always mention in AA and NA, and I believe it's wisdom, it says under every skirt, there's a slip. And you look at a lot of the guys who are in recovery. One of the main reasons they relapse is because they got into a relationship before they had an opportunity to really work on themselves. We're very emotional beings. Men don't demonstrate it, we don't show it, but we are emotional.
Right.
And a lot of times when we have a heartbreak, we have a conflict in a relationship, those of us who are in recovery have a tendency to escape the pain by getting back into the alcohol and drugs.
Self-medicating.
So, yeah, self-medication.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of you guys looking out there, also women. And what are we saying? Give yourself time when you get released. I heard an old saying one time: you can't really give Elmo what you don't have.
That's right.
And if you don't have self love, some identity, then the relationship actually is going to be toxic.
Can I build on something you said a moment ago? So we was talking about being inside of institutions, and think about it. We're being told what to do all the time. Count time, shakedown, child time, get in line. Now, guess what happens? We've been told what to do for so long, we kind of don't want to take orders. So when you get out and get in a relationship, one thing about a relationship, we got to remember, when you get in a relationship, now you have to also cater to someone else's emotional wants and needs. You can't be in a relationship and think you can exclude that. But I'm thinking about this. That goes from being told what to do when we in to, hey, where you going? How long you going to be there? You don't give me enough time.
Yeah.
Accountability. See, that relationship is not just I'm with you, you with me, we love each other, we good. It's no, I need your time. You work too much. You know, we work for free when we in, so we have a chance to make an income. We fall in love with working sometimes. This become an issue. But just thinking about that institutional life, we don't think much about it. We think when we get free, we're just going to be happy. But the truth is, we have been told what to do so long. Guess what? That woman going to tell you what to do. Think about it. For real, a relationship, and not in a bad way, not that she mean anything bad, but this is going back to give yourself a chance to get yourself together first.
When you meet a woman, a lot of times you'll start saying like you got too many walls up, right? Or you're emotionally damaged. You know, but in hindsight, just by us having this conversation, I realized how many walls I got up, how emotionally damaged I am. And you use the word fantasy, right? We create these things that don't even exist, right? We have this imagery, but while trying to help and heal ourselves with the wrong medication. And I'm saying it like this: when I look at the thing that I thought a relationship should be, it wasn't. I didn't have. Most of us won't go and seek even counseling, even though we're married. Even though we get, I'm not married, but even though once there's marriage, we won't even seek counseling during those times. We feel like we got all the answers. Our main problem is during the time while we're incarcerated, we find other ways to mask that pain of being separated, right? So let me give you an idea then. How many of y'all remember holding that pillow at night in the county jail? Right, being separated, or you can't get that phone call to get through and talk to your old lady, talk to your girl. And so now you're study just saying, okay, I got to separate myself from this because it hurt too much, right? That separation. And you'll find out now you're starting to establish a life in the institution based on how you feel.
Mm.
And now you don't even forget how you feel. Matter of fact, you don't even feel anymore. So it's not even you looking for a woman anymore. It's basically you looking for an object of desire. And because of that, you start building stuff saying, okay, well, I don't like this and this hurts too much, right? Because we don't want to go through the pain. You start falling back and dropping off.
Yeah, and I want to share some. I got two thoughts going through my mind, but they're not related. The first thing, what you was talking about, one of the things too, broken people tend to attract broken people in
Mhm.
life.
That's right.
And because we've been through something, a lot of times from a male perspective, we look for a woman who's been through something, not necessarily incarceration, but she's been through something. So now you got two broken people trying to be in love together. It happens, right? We look for somebody who's going to accept us for us, and usually the people who accept us for us is somebody who's been through something.
Mhm.
And doing reentry work, the number one thing that our guys that do recidivate or get picked up or the police get called, it be for something domestic at the house. Not necessarily he put his hands on her or anything, but the argument at the house, and it comes from the relationship issue
Mhm.
right there. That's the number one police call that we get
Mhm.
with our clients right there. The second thing that was on my mind, and I said it wasn't there, is going back to the women. And when I went inside the women's prison, they gave a stat, and I could be wrong, but they were speaking about how many women, it's like 70, 80% of women that when they become incarcerated, if they're a mother, they have their child is under 18. It was a crazy number. And then they gave this high percentage of how many children that have an incarcerated mother become incarcerated themselves in their lifetime. It was over more than half too, and I was like blown away. So in life, that mother and the women play a valuable role not only in love but in family because they are the nurturers,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
And we're talking about relationships. Men, we can mask things a certain way, but the nurturers, what happened to a woman who isn't feeling loved? What's happening to that woman? If we and just because we men, that don't mean we're not emotional. You think a woman emotional, men could be emotional too,
Oh, yeah.
hide it, but we get
Yeah.
in our feelings
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But how are the women feeling in relationships? And the reason I'm bringing this to the forefront is because too often we're talking about the men and the women say nobody is thinking about us.
Mhm.
And it hit me in my face. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I hear that constantly.
So we bring that in the conversation. Not only that, because we have people listening to this that's in and they just want to be loved and they want that companionship too. But this is a great topic here, and I know people feel like I'm gonna be okay. Look, give yourself a chance to get yourself together when you get out. I know all of us say that, but it's so easy to just fall in love when we get out of there. And I was taking a disease awareness class, and a stat they said that men, the first person that a man have an intercourse with when he get out is usually with a woman that he was not with prior to him going in. It's like 90%.
Mm.
It's somebody you've never been with before. They say 90% of the men coming out of incarceration, the first person he have intercourse with is someone he was not with prior to going in.
Right.
Man.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you were talking about two broken people. My wife and I do marriage counseling, and we were telling this young lady um, about 4 or 5 months ago, I was telling her, you've been married to Fred for 15 years. Now you're married to Harry, and you're treating Harry like he was Fred
Mm.
because you never really divorced emotionally
Right.
from Fred. So you're treating Harry as if he was Fred. That brings a lot of conflict into the situation.
Mhm.
Or the man. Now the man becomes over possessive, over controlling. Where are you going?
Mm.
Who gave you those flowers? And you know, like we said, the imagery, oh, it's beautiful. In the beginning it's chocolates and flowers and dinner dates, but as time goes on we have to face reality, and these are a lot of the things that we have to deal with.
Now, you know, I'm gonna go back to honoring marriage, right? The respect of it. It's an institution, and so it's not so much of we go there with our own ideas, or we going in there and not willing to make sound judgment on the person we choose, and even knowing how to compromise in the right way to where the relationships are healthy. I'm horrible at relationships, so I'm just gonna go in and tell y'all, some of the things that you shouldn't do inside of a relationship. Number one, uh, don't just give people a chance. You just said it, but give them a fair chance, right? You can't bring into the relationship what you call them, Fred. You can't bring
Bring
Fred,
that baggage.
yeah, the Fred with you inside a relationship. Number three, you have to understand that you're dealing with a human being, a person, and in that person is bringing with them some awesome gifts.
Mhm.
But now, if you haven't been, I know you was talking about the classes, the parent, take your parenting class, man. Take your relationship class. Discuss these issues. The fourth thing that I did that was really awesome is that when I got home, I made my business not to have any relationships for 1 year. That saved me a lot of time and trouble. So while you're in there, while you're incarcerated, look at what you're doing and what type of imagery, right? Because we created an image and likeness of God. So when you start talking and breathing and moving, you making things. You're gonna make things happen, and then whatever you project towards your relationship, you bringing that with you. But is it the right thing?
Well,
Exactly.
that's a good point, Elmo. And I'm sitting here thinking, if I was somebody listening to this podcast and I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'll be saying? If I'm keeping it real, if I was in, I'll be saying, yeah, I hear them, but boy, I wish I had that girl right now. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
care.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
people thinking. And we get it because we all have been there. But that's going to bring me to another point right now.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're inside, some of us are fortunate enough to meet somebody while we in.
Oh,
Some of us even get married.
oh,
And I got to talk about this.
oh.
That chain gang or that incarcerated relationship look different than when it is on the outside. What I mean is this. People remember you from the circumstances they met you in, right? For example, if I met you in a thing where, hey, I could send you $50 or $100 and you're happy, you're not going to be happy with that $50 or $100 when you get out.
Mm-mm.
That's a lot of money in there, which really not a lot of money, but it's a lot of money in there. But what I'm saying is, if a person met you from a point where you was dependent upon them, when you get out, you get a job. Now you saying, hey, baby, I don't need that. I'm good. I'm working now. They never have met you in an independent state yet. Does that bring on insecurity? Sometimes it does. That go that argument. That go that police call I talk about because it get out of control. So they know you from a dependent state, not an independent state. Even these relationships that seem so well, you might been married to this woman 10 years, 5 years, but guess what? Y'all haven't had any issues with dealing with money and paying bills. That's when you find out where your relationship is at when money is on the table.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right? She want to go buy a Gucci purse, but you saying the light bill need to be paid. And she like, I'm not sacrificing this Gucci purse. You just figure it out and pay that bill.
Right.
Now there's an issue. These are real life things that we got to think about. So again, that just go back to saying, take your time. And Raul, I know you said earlier there was something you wanted to share, but I know I've been waiting to hear what it is.
It's I just have a quick testimony. When I got out of prison, that's why I believe that humility is a big deal. Our ego, we think we know it all. I get out of prison, I'm 45 years old, and I'm thinking, I've been through some stuff. I was married before. I know about relationships. So I meet this woman. This woman used to do a Bible study on cable TV. She dressed really well. Tall woman. She was about 5'11", almost 6 feet tall, dressed really nice. And I was really impressed by the outside package. And talking about Jesus, she knew the word. So uh, we started dating, and after 3 months, we decided we're going to get married. And talking about that ego, my brother, my pastor, a lot of friends and family says, "What are you doing? You barely know her. It's only been 3 months." And I said, "I know what I'm doing. Listen, I'm 45 years old." And so we got married. And my God, why did I do that? Uh, I didn't know. You talk about toxic jealousy.
Mm.
I remember I was asked to speak at a church, And the pastor's wife, which was about 68, 70 years old at the time, gives me a hug after the service. And in the parking lot, oh boy, she started screaming, "What are you doing with that woman? You're having an affair behind my back." And I'm thinking, what did I get
Right.
myself into?
Mm.
So as I start to find out, I find out that she is bipolar.
Mm.
She was really cuckoo.
Mm.
And I find the card of her therapist in her purse. And I actually went to visit this man and psychiatrist, and he tells me the issue with so and so is she's fine if she's taking her medication, but if she doesn't take her medication, then she has psychotic episodes.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, oh my God. So here I am. And now I'm growing in the Lord, and I remember that the word says that God really doesn't honor divorce. So I'm thinking I'm stuck in here. Anyway, one day there's a big argument because I came home like about 10 minutes later than I said I would. I stopped to get gas, and she started. Anyway, she says, "You know what I'll do? I'll call the police right now
There
and
it
tell them
is.
that you hit me." All of a sudden, I felt cold come over me.
Mm-hmm.
I got my phone, went in the bathroom, locked it, and called the police.
Mm.
And I said, "Hello, yes, there's a domestic situation here."
Mm-hmm.
And she leaves, she slams the door, and in about 15 minutes, two detectives get to the house and they said, "What's going on?" And I explained to them, and I said, "Listen, before you even I tell you anything else, I just got out of prison. I've been out about 8 months, and I was in there for armed robbery, for this and for that." And they said, where is your wife?" She says, "She left."
Mm-hmm.
Did you lay a hand on her?" "No, I didn't." Well, let me call her. Do you have her number?" And the detective calls, and I remember it was a man and a woman. And the woman calls and she says, "Did your husband hit you?" And I hear her scream over the phone, "No, he didn't hit me. He's just running around with all those women, and we just got him out." Okay. So uh the police officer tells me, "You know what, Mr. Lopez? I'm writing the police report. If
Mm-hmm.
more people did what you did, you'd save a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest you get a handle on this because of your record and everything."
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I ended up annulling. I got the marriage annulled, and but it was a very scary thing, and that happens a lot of times.
Right.
You know, a person will call the police, and before you know it, here we go again in
Yeah.
handcuffs again. So, but I have to finish with saying I stayed out of relationship for another 2 years, and that's where I met my wife. And
Mm-hmm.
just to give you an idea, the woman that I married, I met her in church. Before we even went on a date, we
Mm-hmm.
went to the pastor, sat with him and his wife, and we said, "Pastor, we like each other, and what do you think?" And they said, "We'll get to know each other," and so on. Um, what I'm saying is we have a broken chooser. We'll put
Mm-hmm.
it that way. We think we can choose very well,
Mm-hmm.
but it's good to take advice. And there's nothing wrong with listening to the wisdom of your senior pastor, somebody that you're accountable to. And
Mm-hmm.
thank God, I have a great marriage now, and it's been 14 years. In fact, last Saturday, we renewed our vows for 15-year marriage. So,
Oh man, congratulations.
but it was a
Yeah.
scary thing,
Congrats.
that first relationship.
Yeah. I think it still has to go back to looking at the woman, and uh one thing we don't talk about is the way God created her. Right? I heard you use the word that she's a nurturer.
Mhm.
You know, and she's there. She's really the heartbeat of the family. When I see a woman, I'm always reminded that this is the only vessel God uses to repopulate the earth. There's not a person here that's on this planet that didn't pass through a woman. And so when you start looking at it like that, then when you have problems like that, you can be exactly like Jesus was, right? You can be the healer for this person. You can be a doctor for this person. You can also, you can remove the scales from our eyes, but like you can cause the blind to see. And if it's joyful and it's a healthy, happy relationship, the lame can leap. It's a lot of things that as men we have to start going back that's in a biblical perspective of not only knowing who we are, You know, we like to call ourselves the head. God is God, our Father, then us, and then a woman, and then our family. But at most of the time, the reason why our women are in a corrupt state culturally now, you look at our world culturally. The reason our women are in a confused cultural state now is because the men also have a responsibility to look at that. And I wish we had more time because I see the damage of removing of a man inside of my daughter.
We talk about marriage. God is a covenant God. And I've heard people say, well, marriage is just a paper. Not really. Something happens spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
We read in the Bible where a threefold cord is not easily broken.
Mm-hmm.
In my relationship, it's me, my wife, and Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard to navigate through a lot of these emotions and things that we're going with without the help of the Holy Spirit. I don't know how I ever did it before.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a covenant God. When we get married, there is a covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that the wife, the woman will leave her parents, the man will leave her parents, and they will become one flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're really talking about. I know, we're grown, we could have sex. Just to let you guys know, my wife and I didn't have any intimacy until after we were married, and we dated over a year. We held hands and we kissed several times, but we never had sex until after we got married. I had never experienced that. What an experience to finally, where the focus isn't sex or how good it feels, but it was based on the relationship and mutual respect.
Yeah. Well, I think that any true relationship is going to take spirituality being in the midst of it. Too many times we look at love from a worldly way. I love you, you love me. And that's not going to work. So we do have to lean on the Father above for any real relationship. It brought me back to something in the Bible. Somebody put something out there, and every Bible scholar, we don't put them to the task. And it was a woman. She said that the average man would say, I want a woman that loves me, right? She said, but guess what? God never gave a woman the order in the Bible to say to love her husband. I say, no, that can't be. It's not in there. God never told a woman
Husbands, love your wives.
The husband loved the wife. God never ordered the woman to love her husband. She told her to respect him. She told him everything but love him. Right? So the reason I'm going back to the Bible, if we really look at what God has ordered the man to do in terms of dealing with the woman and the wife, and if the woman looks at what God ordered her to do with the man, it actually will work out. In that worldly way, we're doing things the way we want to do it. But actually, it's an order being given by God on what we're supposed to do. And if we follow that, it'll fall in place.
Well, gentlemen, I really want to thank you. This has been a real good discussion. We're going to have more discussions like this for education so that we'll know out of practical things. This has been the Death of Prison podcast brought to you by leanonmeusa.org. We say Death of Prison podcast, but around here we say
choose life.
We can change the world.